That is to say, history is not fixed, it is in flux. And power has a way of reshaping history to its own ends, such that even our memories of the struggle are not secure. Therefore, remembering is a political necessity. As Tom Anderson says, remembering becomes a crucial, necessary operation. When we write history, especially when we write it in a new way, such as Billy Woodberry has done, we are not reshaping the past. We are forging a new world and the consciousness it takes to bring that world about. Carrie Mae Weems said to Mickalene Thomas, "It's not about reclaiming, it is about claiming." In the end, that's why I think this film is important. Even though by some accounts Bob Kaufman is the person who coined the term beat, he has been all but excluded from its history, and this is not just a loss for literature, we're all poorer for it. Maurice Merleau-Ponty writes that a successful work has the power to teach its own lesson, and for me, again for Madison, Woodberry's film is a work of that order. And When I Die, I Won't Stay Dead is about the poetry of Bob Kaufman, but it also teaches us how to live. It's about one man's life and art, but it is also about resistance to political oppression and racial discrimination. It is about imagination as a powerful weapon, creativity as a liberatory force, and the necessity of organization. The dead are not safe, but they won't stay dead. We cannot let them. Or as Kaufman himself wrote, "Let the voices of dead poets ring louder in your ears. Listen to the music of centuries, rising above the mushroom time." So, tonight we learn from one artist of the past and another of the present how to make a better future. Billy Woodberry is one of the founding filmmakers of what has come to be called the LA Rebellion, and like many of the best and most consequential Los Angeles artists, he's originally from Texas. His 1983 film, Bless Their Little Hearts, won multiple awards at the Berlin International Film Festival and was added to the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress in 2013. On a personal note, writes Madison, I'm proud to have had the opportunity to study with him at the California Institute of the Arts, where he teaches in the film, video, and art departments. Through his films, his mentorship, and his teaching, he has touched the lives of many filmmakers, photographers, and other artists. For another introduction, please join me in welcoming Billy Woodberry.
Hello. Thanks for coming, for being here, and thanks to the Filmforum of Los Angeles and for MoCA for hosting the screening and for inviting me to present the film here. I think I won't keep you so much longer. I'll let you watch the film and then I'll be here to try to answer any questions you have and to have a dialogue with you about it. Thanks a lot.
Please join me again in welcoming back Billy Woodberry.
Questions? Any questions, original thoughts?
Here's a microphone, and I'll bring it to you as well, if you have any. But Billy, to start, when did you first become aware of Bob Kaufman's?
Just now.
We did something to stop the computer, please. Thank you. When did you first become aware of Kaufman's poetry, and then when did you first realize this was a film you had to make?
I think I first became aware of him about 1973, something like that. And when he died, I thought about making a movie about him, a short movie, to just do something. And I didn't do it. And then in about 2000, I started to think about it again more seriously. And I started to do a lot of a lot more research about him and learn a lot more about him than I knew. So, and then after that, when I went around and I traveled a lot trying to find things about him, I recorded shot my research things, right? And then sometime later, I got with my friend Pierre Desir, and we started to seriously work. And we worked for a long time. Yeah. And then I spent a couple of years editing, and then I spent a couple of months finishing. Yeah.
And since you ended up doing a more sort of, I guess, roughly chronological pass through his life, but I was curious about your choice of when to start the film.
I decided to start the film where most people who knew anything about him, what they would know. And I started with people who had a direct relationship and contact with him, and to try to get from them what they knew of him by being in direct contact with him, being close to him. And then after that, I go to people who started to seriously study him and that kind of thing, and to do serious scholarship about him, and to try to know more substantial things about him. And once I reached that point, I thought, okay, I reached a certain point and I thought, people want to know, who is this guy? And part of who he is way back, you know? So then that structure worked for me. It was a way to go to that place. And then to come back, you know? Yeah. So it's a risky structure, but I thought it was right, seemed right.
The filmmaking or Bill? Other.
Second time I've seen it, it's really incredible. The sound design and the music is amazing. The sound design is almost subliminal. It really enlivens the choice of images, especially in the first third, is incredible. And I don't know if you can say something about that. Can you say something about that trove of stuff you found about the longshoremen? And which poems were you reading? And
Oh, I read the Bagel Shop Jazz, and I read the one thing about Hard Crane. And then I read a bit of the narration about his union and his shipping and that thing. Yeah.
that's one quickly. Was this the edit that you had at PATH?
Yes, the same one. We didn't change it. It is same one. The sound design was okay. I had some ideas, and then in the finalizing the film, I worked with a really good team, and they worked really hard and really fast, and they're like young and thoughtful and creative people. So we would try different things and discover things. And the music, I knew quite a bit of this music, and also I was looking for music. I was looking for it in a number of ways. I was looking for, I used this Jackie McLean music, and my thought was, okay, in the 50s, during the McCarthy era and the folk era and all those things, other people in other modes of expression and music were thinking also. And what were they thinking? And that might be interesting as opposed to some other music I could have chosen. So I wanted to see what Jackie McLean was thinking in 1954, 1956. And I thought that would be a rich and good thing. There's a British composer, the Red Prelude, I found. He's Irish, actually, I believe, or maybe Scottish. I found him because I was looking, and I was looking for Marxist composer, and who was thinking, and who could give me something that would enliven, enrich, and make you curious about the music, you know. So I chose that. Luigi No didn't work. It was too, you know, I was reaching too far. But I was looking for that kind of thing. And yeah, it's just a matter of working and working and working and figuring out what works best. And making choices. And Mingus music, playing that song that everybody knows from Tony Bennett, you know. I Left My Heart in San Francisco. I chose that music because Mingus spent some time in San Francisco, and he thought it was really important for him because it's where he met artists and painters and thought about things in a different way when he was quite young. And also his second marriage, I think, was to a person, and they lived there. And he knew Kaufman, and Kaufman knew him. So it was a way to reclaim that song. Actually, my young editor was kind of too infatuated with that music, but I had to kind of agree. Like he was really infatuated with all the archival footage, black and white, you know. We had to, I had to concede some things, and I like it too, but he liked it too much. The films from the trade union, I found those films because searching online, I found that there's a labor video project in San Francisco. So I wrote to them, and I said, you put this stuff on here, do you have the material? And they said, yeah, we can, for a donation, we'll make you digital copies of what we have. So I sent them a bit of money, they made digital copies for me. And they explained to me that the way they got those things is they recovered a whole batch of films related to labor in the trash bin. And when they found them, they thought they needed to rescue and preserve them. So first they made VHS tapes, and they tried to clean them up and do the best they could. But the other people that saved that stuff, and because nobody cared about it, they just threw it away. You can find some things in some places, some archives. It's unfortunate. Part of what happened, and I say this just for your information, there's a library in South Los Angeles called Social Research Library. It used to be, I think now it's affiliated with USC, and that's not a bad thing because USC helps to save it and preserve it. But the way that library was built was there was a man lived up in Hollywood. He was an old leftist man. His name was, what was his name? Fried was his last name. His first name will come to me. And what happened was friends were getting rid of all those books during the McCarthy era because you didn't want to have the collected works of Lenin in your living room. I mean, it might have played well 10 years earlier when all the comrades came over. But if you had that stuff in your house and police came, you could have problems. So when he saw that they were panicking and getting rid of their books, he said, no, give them to me. I will find a place. So he found his garage, then he found a warehouse, and then he came up with the idea that they should be available to people. But he preserved an incredible legacy. newspapers. You can find Kaufman's Pilot, the newspaper of the NMU, and all those things. And he built that library. And then other people got involved and they preserved it. And it's where Mike Davis did a lot of his research. It's where a lot of people have done important research about it. And we had a wonderful student at CalArts. I just saw her, Catherine Lisa Winkler, right? And she was raised in Frankfurt. Parents owned a bookstore, and they were part of collective, leftist collective. But she's dear to my heart. Because what happened was, when she came here for graduate school, she was curious about the Black Panther Party and all those things. And they had a huge collection of their newspapers and things related to them. And she went and she did a number of works about this archive and about these papers and about these things. And then she was in touch with Emory Douglas, and she brought him to CalArts. We had a wonderful week with him, and it was wonderful because we have quite an outstanding graphic design program in the art school. All the students and faculty of the graphic designs came to be with Emory Douglas, you know. So it's quite wonderful. You know Emory Douglas. He was the main artist and designer of Black Panther Party newspaper and all of those scathing Daumier and Hertzfeld kind of collages, again, you know, with the pig and all that thing. He thought of that. And he had because his relationship with Sam Durant, he has a big Rizzoli book now, catalog, and he's had exhibitions all over the world. He's really close with the people in Chiapas and the Aboriginal people and the Maoris. He's always getting together with them. And he still does work. He does things related to now, you know. But he was a wonderful artist.
I have a question about it was a very beautiful film.
Thank you.
The structure, I'm wondering about the structure of the film, how it changed over all those years you were working on it. It seems like, it felt like the first part went into him, and then it sort of culminates with, there's a couple of sections that seem like almost inside his head or inside a consciousness, you know, so that the film itself is, with the black and white going fast, I'm thinking of, and then the more 70s when it's almost sickening psychedelic digitalness, you know, and it sort of culminates and it sort of stops there. It feels like that then it becomes more about him, both from his family and like when it goes into his influences and then you know, around his death and his disconnection from his family and stuff. So it seems like there's so much material and you're coming at it from different angles, and I'm wondering how the structure of it might have changed over time.
Oh, it changed a lot. It took a long time. It was a lot of hours of material. It was a lot of things that I had to give up, and I had to find the structure. I had to find the best way to convey his poetry, to convey something about him, to find the right questions and things like that. And because he's a kind of mythic person, you know, a figure for the people of his time and what people know of him. A lot of it is a legend, you know. And then we know more facts, right? We know more things about him. And I wanted to maybe allow those things to be there. And a lot of it is his words. And what happened was, I discovered, because a friend told me early on, he's a poet, that's what people know, are curious about him, we need more poetry, right? I mean, all this labor thing is good, and she's actually sympathetic to that, right? But she said, it's too much, right? And so I thought about it, and I really worked at that. And what happens with that footage, it's the same guy who shot the footage of the people in the cafes and things. His name was Dion Ving. And fortunately, the films he made, a good number of those films are preserved at the Pacific Film Archive. He was a young man on that scene, and he was married to this kind of very striking woman, you see her the first time she's with that group, and she's short black hair, and she has all black and that thing. And she was an artist, ceramicist and other things. And they were very much a part of that scene. And he was a guy who was filming with Bolex and filming. And there's another one called Christian McLean, I think is his name. Very gifted people. They were making those things for themselves. And what he did at one point is he walked a good portion of the streets of North Beach making single frame, right? And then Kaufman has this poem, and me and the young Portuguese editor guy, we worked with that. And he thought, oh, but this can work. Let's try it. Because the problem with that single framing is it was just flickering and going. So we worked on it a bit, right? And then we had this poem, and it seemed so right. The things he's speaking about, the cadence, the spit breath, so that I will be whatever, So you work the material, you work the words, the sound, the image, the thing you have. And that great line that we know some things, man, about jazz, yeah, God. It had this kind of swinging hip kind of thing, And the footage and what the men did is incredible. It's just a happy coincidence. But I'm interested in film, I'm interested in images, I'm interested in those things, and it was how to work with that. And for me, that is a very wonderful thing. And it's also a duet, because it's Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis doing that poem together, and they change lines, Trading 12s, they call it in jazz.
That was from the show that they did?
I think that was in one of their shows.
I appreciate the film. It's the second time I've seen it, but I can't really remember. But so I think I'm missing a few things. And I wondered about when did he first begin writing poetry? Was it when he was younger, or when he was in New York, or after he got to San Francisco? Wasn't clear about that.
I asked his first wife about this, because scholars had asked me to ask her that. So when I finally met her, after 4 or 5 years of waiting, I asked her that. And she said he didn't express any interest in that. Yeah, he's a bright guy and he read books, but he didn't express any ambition in that way. But I suspect he might have done it and he didn't go on about it or reveal it. Because when he left his job in Beverly Hills at that hotel, but so many stories these guys make up later. They say he told his boss, I think I want to be a poet again. So then he went up to Big Sur and that thing. Whether or not that's true, but she told me that, actually she told me something very touching. She said, you know what? I think he discovered that he had capacities and things that he didn't know he had. And once he chose that path, that was him. We know from his childhood that he read a lot, and he read early, and then as a young sailor, he read all the time. And even in his worst state, he would have a book. This is what people told me. And he used to be in bookstores. You could find him in bookstores. And so I think he knew a lot of poetry, he read a lot of poetry, and he valued that, and he had a memory for it because he carried a great deal of it in his head, not only his own, but other people. And he would mix it, he would just recite it, give it away. You know?
I thought it was really interesting that you got back to the family in New Orleans. And, but I was wondering if there was any more information about his father.
His father?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's his father, the guy with the confirmation beads. And
Yeah.
That's his father. And I know a few things about his father, but I didn't have so many photographs of his parents. Why? Because in 2005, his sister, the main one, the one who speaks, Joyce, the older one, she had and knew everything. Katrina, she lost everything. She gave me the pictures of the sisters together with the brother. She gave me the picture of the father. She's gonna give me her mother's teaching certificate and all these things, and it didn't happen. So his niece found the only photograph. But now we have a very tender relationship. His nieces and a lot of his, people from his family saw the film at New Orleans Film Festival, and they were pleased. So now, actually, whenever they find pictures, they send them, they put them on Facebook, and they tag me, and they say, so it's wonderful. I'm not going to go back and put them in. If I find his mother, at least a picture of his parents together, I will do it. But I had lovely pictures.
What did his father do, though?
His father was a Pullman porter and a waiter at a men's, gentleman's club. And he was, quite a substantial man. But the fact that he was a Pullman porter and that he probably brought the messenger home and that he was, A. Philip Randolph's group and that thing, he kind of grew up in that thing. Yeah, the scholars, they sometimes speculate and they have flights and they say, yeah, he probably read Langston Hughes in that thing because he used to publish in it. He was apparently one of Langston Hughes' favorite poets. He always put him in anthologies when he made them, because he himself went on ships and worked was a sailor. The Big Sea, that's the first volume of his autobiography. Yeah, he liked Kaufman. The other person that liked him was Aimé Césaire. And he liked Aimé Césaire too. But when he died, Jack Hirschman wrote a letter to the French woman who appears, and she read the letter for me on camera, but I didn't use it. Where a Haitian poet was in Martinique to see Césaire, and he told him that Bob Kaufman died. And Césaire was very sad about this. And they proposed to make a cultural brigade of young people, Bob Kaufman Brigade. And he says, I agree, you should do it. Yeah. So he was valued by some people.
Well, we want to thank you for making it possible for all of us to continue to appreciate him further. And we have to wrap up here right now because of MoCA's closing. But thank you very much, Billy Woodberry, for joining us this evening.